We rarely see perfect games played in college football, and while UCF may not have been perfect against Tulane on Saturday afternoon, they were pretty darn close. The Green Wave felt a tidal wave of UCF offense and defense and special teams as the Knights rolled to a most impressive 49-0 win, and now for the third time in 5 years, the Knights are going bowling. And hello again, UCF fans. Welcome to UCF Sports Today with George O'Leary. With the coach, I'm Pat Clark. Delighted as always that you're here. Your seventh win of the season, George, and maybe wasn't perfect. I know you would have liked to have had a couple more scores there in the first half, but It was pretty darn close, George.
I tell you what, I think you said it right in your opening statement there. I think except for those two red zone, we left it on the 1 yard line inside the 10. I thought they played very well, offense, defense, and the kicking game, and I thought it was a well-executed game with a lot of production.
You are going to a bowl for the third time in 5 years. We'll talk a little more about that later on in the day. And there's just a little bit of bittersweet to the day. Most impressive win, but you knew that you needed to get some help in Conference USA if you still wanted that outside shot at getting to a Conference USA championship game. You didn't get that. East Carolina defeated UAB, so now you can't win the title. Your thoughts on that? You knew that a lot of things had to fall into the right place.
Well, I think you got to take care of yourself, and you know, I've never counted on anybody else to do what we have to do, and you know, you'd like to have some of those games back, but I think East Carolina's a good football team. They did what they had to do, and again, it'd be interesting next week because Southern Miss can go in and actually win the title with a win there. They have two losses, and you know, if they go in, they'll end up with the title. So conference, our side of the ball on the east side was a very competitive schedule.
I know that you hate playing this game, but I'm going to make you play it anyway. Wouldn't you like to be able to play? given the metamorphosis and the maturity and how things, I mean, this has been a Jekyll Hyde kind of a season for you. You have come such a long way from where you were at the beginning of the season when you did have to play East Carolina on the road and when you did have to play Southern Miss. You have no control over the schedule. But in all honesty, wouldn't you like to have an opportunity to play both of those games again right now, given where your team has come?
You know, I think many coaches have said scheduling is the key to success.
Yeah, right.
It is, and you know, you play the schedule you dealt, and we had our opportunities, and you know, we didn't get it done with turnovers and that thing. But I think, as I said last week, when you look from game 1 to 4 and then game 5 through 10, I think you see a vast improvement in the football team. Steadily on defense. I thought they were solid early, and I thought they went out and made plays. Offensively, no question. I think the continuity, the consistency has gotten better each week.
Well, your team has become wildly entertaining to watch, George, especially yesterday. 49-0 win. We'll take a look back at that victory when we return on UCF Sports Today with George O'Leary. So stay later.
UCF Sports Today with head coach George O'Leary is brought to you by Holler Classic, the official automotive group of the UCF Knights. Buy smart, be happy. Today's show is also presented in part by Budweiser, the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Open up a world of taste. By the energy-saving conservation programs of Tico Peoples Gas. Syntex Homes. For a better way to a better home, visit syntex.com. ISP Sports is the exclusive worldwide marketer of UCF Athletics. ISP, America's home for college sports.
Hey, welcome back, everybody, to UCF Sports Today with George O'Leary in the wake of UCF's most impressive 49-0 win over Tulane. Now 7 wins for the Knights, 6-1 at home this season. So the whole string of this, winning the games in home territory, you always want to defend the home field, and your fellas did a great job of doing that this year at 6-1.
They really did, and they like playing at home. And you know, I think there's a reason. I think the one tangible thing you look at when wins and losses is playing at home is very important to getting a win, and that's why it's so important that you keep that schedule with more home games and less away games, because I think it's so important to the win and loss column.
Right. You talked last week about keeping concentrated and keeping focused, and throughout the week leading to the Tulane game. After that impressive win, most impressive win over Houston, the letdown. And I know it sounds trite, but you always talk about that because after big wins, teams sometimes just can't pull it all together for the following week. Well, your guys certainly, there was no problem on Saturday with regard to that.
No, and I think a lot had to do with the senior class. You know, senior day is a lot of memories there, and there's a lot of young respect for the seniors. So I think that had a lot to do with keeping their heads where they need to be and keeping their mind on the game and their last home game at UCF.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the seniors later on in the program, but we would be remiss if we didn't go another second without talking about your defensive performance against Tulane yesterday, George. Tulane ran 51 plays and had a total of 50 yards.
Yeah,
and minus 30 rushing.
Yeah, no, outstanding job. Turnovers, fumbles, interceptions. I think they did everything there, and they've been very solid throughout the whole year. You know, they really have been, as far as whether it's a finesse game, whether it's a power game, an option game, a Houston type game. I think they've adapted to all the different types of styles of offense they've seen.
And I think it's worth noting once again, and we've talked about it before, but this is a team that is first in Conference USA against the rush, but third in the nation behind only Texas and Alabama against the rush. And what is it about your team? Because this is not a UCF defense that does a whole lot of blitzing against teams, but you're still getting the sacks. 3 of them on Saturday and 8 tackles for loss. How does that happen, George?
Well, I think you got players that are the coaching staff, I think, does a great job of making sure they're in the right place at the right time, and they all play their position very well. I think when you don't get those things happening, you got too many guys trying to do things they shouldn't be doing. I think they play very good team defense. I think they're where they need to be, and their right and left hand are where they're supposed to be. So it ends up being a sound defense, very fundamentally sound as far as getting things done.
All right, off to the highlights we go. Another beautiful day for football at Bright House Network Stadium. It was senior day, and here's Bryn Harvey. This is the 4th play of the game, George. 50-yard run right up the gut.
Yeah, he's getting better and better, and we've had an opportunity to play a bunch of running backs yesterday, so that's great for the program.
Bryn had 16 carries for 129 yards and 3 touchdowns. This is Lawrence Young and his friends holding the running back at the 1-yard line, and this very nearly was a safety. And we've talked about the sacks. Look at Darius Null. He had 2 sacks to start the day for your team, blindsiding the quarterback, jarring the ball loose. And as mentioned, he ends the game with a couple of sacks. Some great play from him.
He really does. I think they all have their opportunities. And again, we've been waiting for a block all year. And again, we had a great opportunity here. Great position for the offense to score.
It almost looked as if the punter wasn't expecting the ball. Here's Bryn Harvey getting a pitch out, running it in for an easy 2-yard touchdown. And it's a 14-0 halftime lead, which is a little bit misleading as well, because it very easily could have been like a 28-0 halftime lead. A couple of other opportunities inside the red zone, an interception, and another time a failed attempt on 4th down. What did you say to the fellas at halftime? Because I think that you were trying to tell them to pretend that maybe the score was reversed, maybe you not leading 14-0.
That's what I did tell them. We're down 14-0, and I said, we have to play better. We're playing good in certain areas, but again, when you have opportunities to put the ball in the end zone, you have to get that done. So very little adjustments were made. I think the staff does a great job of sitting down and getting together before they address the kids as far as what has to take place. But overall, that's good. We're down 14-0. We got to catch up. And I remind them about senior day and how important that was, that they will once be in that same position these kids are in.
Now, you've said this before, and you just said moments ago we didn't have to make very many adjustments at halftime. You've kind of been of the mindset all along that the adjustment mostly needs to take place in the head, doesn't it? I mean, it's all about attitude adjustments at halftime, isn't it?
I think halftime is attitude. I really believe that, you spend all week putting plays in, and it's very difficult to add things at halftime. I think you can make slight adjustments or let them know that they are in this coverage. Here's what they've done, a little different from a tendency standpoint. But other than that, then I think you just move on and make sure they understand that we're successful, or they've been successful because we're not doing this. And you only give them a couple of things, because you can rip off 10 or 12 things easily, but they're going in one ear and out the other. But I think concentrate on a couple of things that you need to win the game with, and then hopefully they take that to the second half.
And they most certainly did. The attitude adjustment was certainly not lost on these nights, and they didn't really need a whole lot of adjusting in the first place. Let's head off to the second half highlights. You got 3 turnovers quickly, George, in the third period that led to 3 touchdowns. It was 28-0 run. Here's Brent Harvey pounding a 2-yard touchdown up the gut after a forced fumble, set up the red zone on defense, and there's your momentum early in the third period.
It really was. I think we had scored a couple of times within 2 minutes, and I was happy with the return games. I think we're doing more and more in a good area. A nice pick by Josh Robinson.
That was his 5th interception of the season. There was a 16-yard return. Here's Kamar Aiken and Brett Hodges hooking up a 29-yard play. Nice diving catch. That made it 28-0. Kamal Ishmael, we're going to talk a little bit more about him in a moment, forcing a fumble on the kickoff. You've always been proud throughout the season on your kick coverage, both on kickoffs and punts, George.
Well, I tell you what, the kickoff coverage has done a great job, and we've been waiting to get a takeaway, and finally got one yesterday, and great job.
And another touchdown coming right at you, Kamar and Brett Hodges, who had another great day. I mean, 19 of 28. A couple of touchdowns in the game as well. Kamal Ishmael, 7 tackles in the game. Your young secondary is growing with each game. We saw Josh Robinson with another pick. That's 5 on the season, which ties a freshman record originally set by Joe Burnett a few years ago. So you're watching these kids grow up right in front of your eyes.
Each and every game, I think that's the key. And, talented athletes that are starting to use their athleticism and vision. And, they're going to have a great future at UCF.
Well, we talked about possession time last week as well. I mean, dominating over Houston, and you did it once again, 37.5 to 22.5, something like that on Saturday. So if you can hold the ball, I mean, this is a great testament to your offense, isn't it? That these guys are able to sustain drives. In fact, a couple of the long drives in the first half that did not lead to scores were ones where you were able to control the ball, control the pace of the game.
It really does. Plus, it works so much better for your football team. Defense is getting their legs underneath them, and I think it gives them a chance to get out there, see what's going on, and then go out and play with, full speed legs underneath them. But I think the big thing is that they're playing well as a football team, not one side, the other. They're all playing well as units, and that's what's important if you're going to win consistently.
You said some time ago, and I know that you reiterate it almost every year, they only remember what you do in November.
Yeah.
Do you know that your teams are 14-5 in November since 2005, which indicates to you what? That as the season goes along, your teams are getting stronger.
Well, all the hard work in the weight room, I think, and the strength coaches, I think, shows at the end of the year. We've been hurt with injuries. We probably have 9 players out that were factors in the season, and that hurts. But we have enough depth to come out and still replace them and move from there. But I think the conditioning program, the weight program, really shows the difference when you head into late October and November.
Yeah, 13 seniors played their final game at Bright House Network Stadium on Saturday. We'll talk a little bit about the seniors. One more Conference USA game left against Alabama Birmingham coming up next Saturday afternoon. It's a 1:30 Eastern Time kick. We'll talk about that game as well as we continue on UCF Sports Today with George O'Leary. Right back.
The Knights Kids Club, presented by Chick-fil-A, is an exciting new club just for kids 8th grade and under. Call 407-823-6165 or log on to UCFathletics.com to join now.
Attendance, people, listen up. Albertson.
Here.
Barnes.
Here.
Swain.
Here.
Reyes.
Here.
Perez.
Here.
Clark.
Here.
Gerbic.
Here.
Sellers.
Here.
Nguyen.
Here.
Tomei.
Here.
And Miller.
Here.
In our classrooms and throughout our community, UCF stands for opportunity.
2nd and 9. Here's the snap. Back to throw. Blitz is coming. Body will get it. Loose football. Free on the ground. Bouncing around on the ground. Timmons picks it up. He's running to the 20. He's inside the 15. He's down to the 13-yard line. The blitz by Justin Body works. They knock it free, and Travis Timmons recovers.
So many things went well for UCF in the 49-0 win over Tulane. You've been around for a long time, George. You've had nights where you've gone home after games that you may have lost, where you're probably staring at a dark ceiling trying to get to sleep, but you're replaying the game. And my guess is you probably had a good night's sleep last night.
You know, that's the one. When you play in the afternoon, you do get a chance to get home and watch some other ball games. So I was flipping the channels, watching other games and seeing how everybody else was doing. But again, I was happy for our players. Again, the play of the game, I thought that was a blitz off the corner, a forced fumble, and again, Travis Timmons picked it up, and you know, we left the offense in great shape to pound the next one in.
A little bit bittersweet for you whenever you have senior day, because you're effectively saying goodbye to guys that you've spent at least 4 years with, sometimes 5 years. What's that like for you, George? Because you said you're saying goodbye to 13 seniors this year, and I know you have great respect for all those kids.
I really do. I tell you, not just as football players, but as student athletes. They've all done well in the classroom. They're all going to graduate, and you know.
You got 7 of them in grad school already.
So I mean, I've been very pleased with that, and just the leadership. I've always been a big believer in that. I think you're only as good as your senior class. Now, that doesn't mean wins and losses. It means basically attitude, character, and just letting kids, like, I knew they were going to be a good group back in preseason when we had some freshmen that was sort of doing things they shouldn't be doing. And I was walking by and I heard the seniors say, hey, we don't do that in this program, which is all I need to hear to know that, hey, you know, we got our act together, and I'll let the seniors handle all the discipline, and they have.
Well, I think that some fans maybe don't understand the role of a senior. They see a senior on the football field and expect him to be a great player just because he's been around for 4 or 5 years. It extends well beyond that, doesn't it? Because these seniors are expected by you and your coaching staff to act as role models for the younger players.
Oh, there's no question. I think when you have a poor senior class that doesn't get that done, it's very evident with the younger kids. And I think when you have a senior class that does, and I think it's hard today to find leaders. It really is. I think there's too much pressure, peer pressure going on, but I think collectively, the senior class collectively, they've done a great job of sticking together, making decisions on some discipline problems as far as some of the players that didn't do things they're supposed to do. So I've been very pleased with them. And again, great players on the field. They've been great for UCF, and I'm glad the people that were there yesterday had a chance to send them off the right way.
Corey Hogue is one of those seniors. He always has been so eloquent in his praise for his teammates. In the aftermath of yesterday's win, when asked about playing his final game at Bright House Network Stadium, he was deferring to teammates and a lot of the younger kids, some of the freshmen. And by the way, 5 of the 7 touchdowns scored yesterday by UCF were scored by freshmen or sophomores. So in that respect, you'd have to think that the upperclassmen are doing their job, because these younger kids are maturing rapidly as well.
They really are. Plus now the seniors, when they have a good year and they know they've done their job, they take great pride in coming back to a homecoming, or coming back to a game, and being on that sideline and seeing these young kids grow, and they make note of that.
Is it tough for you to say goodbye to the seniors?
It is. It is. A lot of them have been, you know, in my office many times for good and bad.
Yeah.
But I think that you don't have to say anything to them anymore. As when I just look at them, they know what's going on, and when I give them that little look as far as right or wrong look, and then they'll get after some things. But a very good group, a group that, you know, has their goals set on what they want to do with themselves academically, and hopefully a couple of them give them an opportunity to play on Sundays.
Well, and all of them have at least 2 more games. Well, 2 more games here at UCF. They've got UAB coming up this weekend, and then a bowl game, and we'll talk about all of that as we return on UCF Sports Today with George O'Leary. So don't move an inch.
Be sure to visit Buffalo Wild Wings in Waterford Lakes every Thursday night from 7 to 8 p.m. during the season to hear the George O'Leary Radio Call-In Show.
Fans, here are your Run for Ronald totals for the game. UCF had 504 yards of offense and 7 touchdowns for a total donation to the Ronald McDonald House of $1,204. McDonald's, I'm loving it. Welcome back, everybody, to UCF Sports Today with George O'Leary. Knights with an impressive 49-0 win over Tulane. But one more Conference USA game to play. That's this coming Saturday afternoon at Alabama-Birmingham. And this is going to be a UAB team, Coach, that is motivated because they need one victory to become bowl eligible themselves. So they will have that motivation Saturday.
Exactly right. It's always a tough week, Thanksgiving week, with people heading home and all that. But we'll be here the week, and I usually let the show team go after Wednesday's practice and keep the travel squad for Thursday. And obviously we fly up on Friday, and it'll be an important game for us too, as far as getting some pecking order for the bowl games. And obviously UAB has to win. UAB has to win to get bowl eligible. So it's a very important game.
I don't want to put you on the spot with regard to where you might go bowling, because any bowl trip is going to be a good trip, but the St. Petersburg Bowl seems very attractive with regard to bringing some fans down to watch a game on December 19th. What are you thinking about a bowl trip right now, George?
Well, we're affiliated with 5 bowls. Obviously, the Liberty, I think right now with ECU winning yesterday, is we're out of that one. But there's 4 others that we can go to, and I think I don't talk about bowls till after the last game, and I think the most important thing is to see what fits in best for our schedule academically. I know we have finals from the 8th to the 14th, and what fits best for our schedule as far as getting our football team better, because that's the whole purpose of going to bowls, is to be able to practice and get some extra time. And so it'll work out, and as soon as I know, I guess you'll know, Pat.
All right, George. Congratulations. Good luck this week.
Thank you.
We'll see you folks next week on UCF Sports Today with George O'Leary. So long, everybody.
UCF Sports Today with head coach George O'Leary is brought to you by Holler Classic, the official automotive group of the UCF Knights. Buy smart, be happy. Today's show was also presented in part by Bright House Networks. See how bright life can be. And Coca-Cola. Welcome to the Coke side of life.